Damn, son, where'd you find this?
Who taught you to hate the texture of your hair? Who taught you to hate the color of your skin to such extent that you bleach to get like the white man? Who taught you to hate the shape of your nose and the shape of your lips? Who taught you to hate yourself from the top of your head to the soles of your feet?
I love people as I meet them one by one. People are just wonderful as individuals. You see the whole...
My great aspiration, my greatest ambition is to be so good. Now, in that way, I'm tiresome, as I suppose, to live with, because I want to be a fantastic human being.
I am the greatest.
We're not disputing that, Cassius, but how does Sonny Liston feel about it?
He can't feel but one way, and let's take everything I say and like it. Because February the 25th, I'm going to take back my job. I'm the champ. He's no champ. He's a tramp. When you see men fall, don't laugh. Learn. Learn. Because you're on your way up. And the things that tempt people to fall, you and I are not free from that temptation.
By examining his own attitude towards the possibilities of peace, towards the Soviet Union, towards the course of the Cold War.
Art muscle. It was a way of making me feel that they were a part of me.
You see it on the bridge. Wait, how they get it? If the government had to change the screw in the bridge, they had to shut it down. They got state troopers out there. They got lanes closed. They got their strange machines. How did they get up there?
What's up, YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, all them good places. Happy hump day. Happy hump day. Peace and blessing. I hope all is well with everybody in attendance. I have someone that I want to introduce you to. Sydney is here, of course. You already know how we get down on Wednesdays. You see the title. You got nothing but great minds up here today. We're embarking on an entirely different chapter of these shows and discussions, and I'm honored and I'm looking forward to what we bring to you this evening. Let me make sure I get that up there. I need y'all to see the names. My apologies before. If you have topics, questions, concerns, if you want to connect with any of the panels, everything down at the bottom, you can scroll, reach out. I'm going to bring them up. I have 2 clips I'm going to play separately, but I want to give them a chance to introduce themselves. You might be familiar with one. If you're not, get familiar. Like, share, subscribe to the channel. Let the algorithm know we are here. We are live. Let's go ahead and bring everybody up. Make sure you give them a warm welcome. And yeah, let's just have a good time. Talk to me. What's up? What's up? What's up?
Hello, world.
Let me get this straight. I want to make sure that we get everybody their proper due. My man is making his debut to the show, so y'all definitely gotta show some love. Being as how you are the man of the hour, why don't you go ahead and introduce yourself to the people? Sydney, I'll let you tap in after him.
Mic check 212. Coming in live from a planet far above. It is I, Night Star Skywalker. I am 37 years old. I am a working illustrator. I render real scenes from the unseen for the world to see and reveal what needs to be revealed. Yes, I am an illustrator, an artist, otherwise known as Nasem Atan, which is a screen name for Night Star Skywalker. That is I want to say an acronym from the Mayan Sulcan. It is the star in which I was born under. So that's realer than any other government name I might be given. So work with that one. My background is in automotive design. I have been drawing since I was 5 years old, and I went to art school throughout high school at Design and Architecture Senior High School, and went on to College of Creative Studies in Detroit. So there's a big cultural gap from where I was born in New York, where I lived in Miami, to where I studied in Detroit. Went, traveled across the country, met a lot of people, did everything from charity work, organic farming. My interests are everything in design, art history, sciences, technology, as I did with automotive design, basically a big cell phone, packaging all the features you would have in your house in it, put it on 4 wheels. So my interests are expansive. I did some studio work. I did some internships with the likes of Quicksilver, Oakley, Cadillac, all before I graduated high school. I got into college. I did work with Can-Am, Bombardier. They did the Sea-Doo, Ski-Doo type stuff. Projects for cities, vehicle packaging design, all that stuff. So my background comes from a very niche market, but is very impactful to the world. I mean, they make roads where you live, right? Cars drive on it. So that's the realm I used to swim in. And now I'm doing an independent practice, ongoing, creating art, publishing it to the world, prints, products that are made, which you can print on, so t-shirts, mugs, and stuff like that. And I help artists do the same in branding their identities and having something to sell, because ideas are the currency of the world. So my purpose and cause is art advocacy and education, otherwise known as STEAM, not necessarily STEM. STEM is good as if you're growing plants, right? Because you'll learn that stuff. But if you want to build an engine of innovation, you got to use STEAM. And that also includes the arts. It ties all of the studies together and keeps you inspired. That's where you ask those questions to begin with. You have to dream first. So, and healthy living is a healthy mind, healthy body, healthy heart, and entrepreneurship, utilizing that as a, powerful inspirator for other people who want to grow. A plant's only mission is to grow. Otherwise, they'll keep growing, just silent sun and light. So people are much like plants, so you got to feed their soul. So that's just the short end of my card here. Just make sure I got all of those points in before I started freestyling, because I'm not a rapper, but I'll do my best in keeping up with y'all. And I really appreciate you welcoming me today. I'm very grateful for the platform, giving me an opportunity to speak to your audience here. Hope we can reach those people. Like I said, it's like we're in a zombie apocalypse and we're the last survivors. And I found myself being on a shack in the middle of nowhere on the roof, waving for a helicopter that'll never show up, with SOS written on there. And I came across this gentleman here on Threads writing some very powerful, very thoughtful things, and I was drawn by it. So once I find it in my history, people that are thinking with such a perspective, have to seek them out. So again, I'm very grateful. Thank you for welcoming me on the show. All right.
Well, it's an honor and a privilege for me to have you here with us. I love having conversations where they actually mean something and they have a destination, and I think that's what's missing with the world in general when we get in these spaces, so Mi casa is su casa. Be as comfortable as you need to be. There is no filters. We don't police anybody or any of that. And yeah, bro, I'm looking forward to this. Sydney, talk to me.
Hello. I am Sydney. I'm a parent, if you couldn't tell by my trying to figure out how to get a marble out of the inside of a toy. Um, but I've been doing pretty good. My latest exciting piece of news is I finally got something to carry my phone around the house, so I stopped losing it. So I got this bag that I've been eyeing for a really long time because, I mean, it's a grumpy turtle.
Turtle, yeah.
Yeah. And I collect animal-shaped purses, so I have a chicken already, but the chicken is too bulky, so this one, since it's nice and flat, it's perfect for me to not lose my phone, even though I still forget to put my phone inside the pouch. So it's still a learning curve, but I'm getting there. I've lost it less, arguably, since I got it, so here's hoping that maybe I don't lose my phone every day. Maybe it's like once a week or something like that. But yeah, other than that, I've just been writing and managing 2 crazy goblin children, and I have my pets.
All right.
Yeah.
Well, look, man. I want to say thank you again to both of you, first of all, because in all honesty, without you, this doesn't exist. I give credit where credit is due. And for the people that are watching, I need you to understand that when we do these type of discussions, whether it's about science or what we're about to get into right now, it's not about just wasting words, which you'll see here in a second, because Mr. Rick Ross has been caught with his hands in the cookie jar. Now, I just want to preface this. I have a video I'm going to bring up here on the screen so y'all can see what I'm talking about. This doesn't have anything to do with your sexual preference as far as I'm concerned. You can do whatever you want with that. It's a little deeper than that for me. So I'm gonna bring this up on the screen. I want to get y'all initial thoughts on it, and we'll just go from there.
For sure.
Let me see. Let me find it real quick. Now, when I first saw it, I was thinking to myself, I'm not really surprised, to be honest with you, because this is the music industry and Hollywood, and the type of things that they get into. I don't know why anybody would be surprised. I think one of the problems is your music and the way that you carry yourself on social media is contrary to this right here.
Okay.
So here it is. Let me see.
Roll that beautiful bean footage.
Make sure this volume is up. I see. I hope y'all can see this right here. Look real close to that. You wanna focus on that because it goes real quick.
Hold on. Ricky.
I'm gonna let him finish.
Dang, and he's a yardie, dog. Wow.
I had to pause it right so you could see exactly what I was talking about.
Why, Ricky, you mad? Ricky, hey, Ricky, Ross, you're Ross. Me know you're always funny, man. You're Ross, Ricky. Cut it out, so man. This bad drip, nah, man.
That was the clip. It wasn't a very long one.
Whoa. And that's my first time seeing it. So that was facial and everything. First of see, like, dang. Like you hit 3 in 1. I don't know how you did that. That's a talent. Man's a yardie. So the Jamaican in me, yes. I'm first generation Jamaican. My family born in Jamaica, Kingston, Trench Town, Spanish Town. Okay. That is the same reaction everybody behind me would have had. I owe this. I owe that. How I do? Ricky. How I go on? What you go up some man for? And then the older generation gets kind of crazy. That's a whole other thing. They get kind of crazy about that. And then you got Hollyweird. Reading my mind. Great clip, by the way. Great clip.
I have to appreciate that one comment on there that said, "Are they all gay?" and then they ended that with "Thanks, Tupac."
Oh yeah, you caught that. The comment section is always undefeated. I don't care what it is. You go to any comment section on social media.
Not gonna lie, sometimes they're better than the videos themselves.
And then they put the memes in there, so like you get the visual.
Yeah.
And they're sometimes better than the videos themselves.
Because they're so on point. It's just like never as a kid I dreamt and I'm self-declaring a millennial. Never did I dream such a medium of communication. I mean, you grew up watching a TV and it programming you. Now you're seeing people like react at the same time with video in a context so meta that you're immediately going, I remember that joke. That joke, when I saw it here happening now, is like on so many levels of communication. You got people across the world that get that. That's fascinating, incredibly fascinating.
Especially when it's streaming, because then you also have the person that's putting out the content engaging with the audience and changing their content based on the feedback that they're getting live.
Incredible. Absolutely incredible. Yeah, that's technology for you. A little bit of my curiosity. Just amazing. And something like this, like StreamYard, or like I recently joined Twitch in February to stream my art. Just these platforms, how they are now, and as I was growing up, going to college then, and then time where none of this existed. For a younger audience, it's hard to explain what that course of history is like, because we used to do this in person. You gather on the street corner and you talk about something you saw on TV last night that nobody was recording on a VHS, unless it was like Michael Jackson or like big music artists is, they'll announce it for a week. That 1 hour is going to be live, and you tape it so that we could watch it, and then you go out on the corner, hang out at your homeboy's car in the trunk, and you leaning up and you watch kids play or whatever, and y'all just yapping about it. And how people used to storytell. That streaming, I think, really fit that space. At least for me, maybe I'm just a very particular type of person, and I could see my past coming up in different formats. That's how you know you're of age, is when things start to remind you of those times, people, places, start to remind you of people you used to know and places you used to go to. You see that kind of conversation happening, and it's amazing, isn't it? In the live, that is. Yeah.
Let me ask y'all a question.
Sure.
Based on this video, did you see anything that was alarming to you? Because I'm gonna tell y'all off the rip, I don't care that he's dealing with the same gender. I mean, that's really your prerogative. You can do what you want. Now, am I going to sit up here and throw you into Hades because of it? I don't have the power to judge you or do any of that. My issue with it is how you present yourself to the culture.
Right.
It's the fact that you rap about certain things,
Mhm.
and then when it comes out, you are the complete opposite of what you're rapping about. Not that what you're rapping about is actually helping anyone in general,
Mhm.
but to me, I'm looking at it like this is a spiritual scenario that's being propagated in media. It's almost as if you're tired of hiding who you are, so you put yourself strategically in a position to be seen by the public because
Mhm.
you're on a yacht. You know paparazzi is following you around.
Mm.
All they do all day is look for ways to make money off of a picture or a video.
True say.
So you're telling me you out on the water doing whatever you're doing.
Mhm.
This comes out, and you looked at his face. He looked like he was looking directly over at the camera. He smiled. And he got his hand around the dude's waist. I don't like.
Mm. Mm. You know, and you're like, you got that cognitive dissonance going on, and you got that panicked anxiety look, like you start shaking your hands. You're looking for, it's like when you're a kid and you're looking for an adult. It's like, I shouldn't have saw that. I shouldn't have saw that. Somebody help. And you're looking for like the stewardess, like maid, nurse, waiter, quick, please. Yeah. I think that comes with some people's personal insecurities. But I just kind of hand it off to Sydney real quick. Is like, personally, I align with what you're saying. Like, I don't have any reversion to that. I think that's something people who feel very strongly come from very conservative backgrounds, that they're not they're not used to that, and that's coming from a black man who lives in America. There is entire sections of this country, there's no black people for miles around. So I've been to Japan, and people who there etymologically are completely different. See somebody they only see on television, they're like, how'd you get here? Like, how did you get here? There's people like, you real? Like, so
They're
yeah.
absolutely fascinated with black people too. Like if you go there, they'll all come up to you and like they'll look at you, and sometimes they'll like want to touch your hair or
Yeah,
like
they
your
did.
arm.
They did.
Yeah.
They totally did. And I wasn't
That's
offended.
happen.
I was not offended at the time. But to that, yeah, it's just, if I may illustrate a more complex picture of what that feels like to people watching and listening, and I might be able to relate to some people most people are in the middle with some variants, because we're all familiar with the extremes, so vocal they are. But it's like you're seeing something you're not used to, and your brain is trying to rectify the two extremes. Where am I on this? Am I safe? Am I safe in this? Am I safe with holding on to this thought? Initially, you're the one holding on to it, and you're not familiar with the thought. You feel like your own worst enemy. So I can understand what that insecurity is. But what's your thoughts, Sydney?
I think it definitely speaks, if this is exactly what we're assuming it is, because there is a tiny bit of, I'll give him the benefit of the doubt, where it almost looked like the head had like a ponytail, so it could just be like a masculine looking female or something. You never know.
Never know.
So I will give him that, but it does speak to the cultural distaste with that, because it's an obsession. If you saw a celebrity with a girl, of course you'd obsess over like, oh, who's the woman, but you wouldn't be like, oh, they're in a relationship with a girl, oh my god. It would be more, as I said, about the woman, and who she is and what are they doing with her and stuff like that. But whenever they identify a same-sex relationship, they go ballistic. They're like, is this what we think it is? Are they in a relationship? What are the hints? And they go back, like, they show all the pictures from like until 2016 of every time they've ever been with somebody the same sex, and they're like, was this it? Were they in a relationship then? And it's like this obsession with people where, especially if they're not within the community, when they are confronted with the community, they like you said, they can't comprehend it. Their mind is just like
explosion.
Yeah,
like oozing out the ears, blank face.
Exactly.
On that note, and I think this is something I would love to hear from my brother here on the cultural context. Like, what's the kind of like? Could you walk us through from the more broad to perhaps pointing to kits and corners that would say, hey, like how that looks speaks to we got the image of a gangster hustler. We got the rapper as its own siloed fantasy and the character they design in that. I mean, I preface this conversation that I'm more of an old school person. I listen to funk, jazz, and soul from all around the world. And typically, and growing up in a Jamaican household, I looked at America, and being the American in my household, I had to be that bridge. I saw hip hop more as the art form and not the cultural totem pole of hierarchy. Like, you got lyricism, and I even headed an urban culture club in my high school. So I'm personally intimately familiar with it, but it's not the type. This is not the type of inclination that I would have. But what would be the broader cultural context of seeing something like that? What do you think? So
I'm gonna be honest with you. Around, I believe, 8 and 9 years old, the music that I was introduced to was, Chaos One, the Run DMC, people like that.
Right.
The way that they rapped and the things that they rapped about, it didn't have anything to do with stabbing people and how much cocaine you could get off in a week. You know what I'm saying? It was more or less about who's wittier, who can write their work in a way where it outshines the other person, making it more marketable for them to come out on top, which would mean more TV time. It means more households would represent what you are putting out there. And to go as far as to break down this whole cultural thing, I didn't know anything. There's certain things I didn't know about until I got introduced to some of these social media platforms. I genuinely was scared to death of the idea of people shooting dice outside of my house.
God forbid.
Like drive-by shootings.
Whoa.
I didn't know much about the gay agenda or any of that until like the 10th grade or something like that. That stuff was hidden from me. My folks did not want me around it or seeing it. But when you are in the house, you don't see that. When you get out here in the world,
right,
and you start to get around different people and you see this stuff, it's like, okay, this doesn't look familiar to me. What's happening? Am I in the Wizard of Oz? Like, what's going on?
Right.
So,
there's that cognitive dissonance again.
Right. So it's weird because I'm trying to make sense of something that to me is wrong, but it seems like other people are making it to be right, trendy, fashionable.
Right. Okay.
I think that's where I am with it. Not anymore. I see it for what it is from my perspective, but that's where I was at one point.
Okay. And to bridge that, like from And just to give people I guess a chronological context, you mentioned some artists like Run DMC, KRS-One. I got my start with Grandmaster Flash and the Furious 5. That was my first instance of what I came to learn what hip hop was. And I'll give you my memory is like, just bear with me here. It was 1995, and I about the time I moved here in Miami. And my stepfather at the time, he had like a computer in the household, internet for like very first time in my life. And moving to Miami, we had cable. So like moving to Miami was a big expansion in my cultural exposure in the house. So going outside was like, there was no walls, no filter. So that whole contrast too. And bringing that back home for my parents that grew up in small towns, on an island, in another country, you know, that forget blowing their mind and rip their head off. My first instance with hip hop was through Incarcia. It's a software, like a video encyclopedia, and you look up the definition hip hop, and it had The Message. And I grew up in New York, so when I heard The Message, the feeling I had, like you mentioned on the lyrics, the wordplay, the craft itself, I got all of that from the first instance. I heard broken glass everywhere, pissing in, like it. I got the visual of a city I grew up in, and to be honest with you, growing up, I was like, this place is dirty. There's gum on the floor and people spitting and coughing and cars are honking at you. I'm trying to walk here and people just like get out of the way, and there's smog. And as I got older and also looking back, it got louder. Trucks are rumbling by. I heard all of that in The Message, and something reached out to me through, and it was before I was born. So watching the video, hearing the song came before that. All of these things connected. This thing called hip hop was more than just listening to music and hearing beats, and you were hearing someone kind of trying to get a story past your own judgments. Like it's almost like a psychological Jedi mind trick. Like I'm storytelling it to you in a way that you think you're just bobbing your head, but I'm like kind of like reaching into your brain cells and painting you a picture in your own mind with a paintbrush that you can't see. I got all of that. And as an artist, like I totally saw that. So coming from that, and then we got the golden era, early 90s. And I remember that transition. It went from party music and just like people trying to figure out what the limits are with the equipment and what the scene looks like. People coming out of the disco era, my family coming out from like a reggae era. It was partying, having good times and a vibe, right? People weren't building personalities around handling this microphone and emceeing and rocking the show. Then became, I'm living this every day. Then the people who went outside came back inside and they were like, yo, there's a war out there. And I was seeing a little bit of it. My cousin lived out in the Bronx, and it was like, oh yeah. So that guy rocking the show got raided because somebody brought a gun. And that they brought a whole other thing we weren't talking about. Now we got to talk about it because somebody, real things happen. It's sort of like we talked about the cultural context in TV. So if you weren't outside, the TV was going to tell you that. If you weren't hearing it, the radio would tell you that. The music would tell you that. So I see where you're coming from. And then a little older person, it's like, yeah, that disconnect is hard. It's hard to bridge. And I wanted to talk on that. Like, what was, coming from that? You said you have your own personal perspectives different from then now. What's that like? How do you rectify that now? How do you live with that now?
Well, let me do this, right? Because I want to make sure that I'm as thorough as possible. Just give me a second. I'm gonna spin back on that. I want to ask a side mission question for Sydney, and I mean you can answer this one too. Since we're on the topic of cultural change and things of that nature, do you think that what we're seeing with Rick Ross allegedly dibbing and dabbing and crossing swords. Do you think that with all of this homophobic, gay agenda, LGBTQ community stuff, do you think that that has been assimilated within the music culture? And is this a good thing? Is this a bad thing? Should we be concerned about it? I mean, because you'll get you'll get scolded or you'll get met with, oh, how dare you say this about that, and how dare you feel this way about, everybody should be treated fairly and equally. But it comes to a point where you have to understand that these people are influencing a generation that, like, if I go back to what I was saying, I'm 7, 8 years old. Why am I at that age watching two men kiss on TV? Why am I? No, that does not make sense to me. So, as much as I don't have an issue with what he's doing, I have an issue with what he's doing because it's deeper than his personal preference. Keep that off camera. Keep that private. You know what I'm saying? Um. So yeah, my question is pretty much from your perspective. I'm not talking about the people who rally and stand outside of your front yard protesting, um, burn down his house and whatever. I'm talking about morally. How do you see this going? How do you see the transition from when we grew up to now?
I think we've already kind of hit that fulcrum point where we are no longer, like, there are more people that oppose that type of treatment of people and have become accepting of individuals on the spectrum. I guess, is it on the spectrum, on the LGBT scale?
Yeah.
And I think enough people know somebody or are associated with somebody that is part of the LGBT community. And so I think that we're moving towards a world where it's just going to be integrated into more music. I think some communities are going to have less of that than others because traditionally men-dominated industries don't have as much of a need to go into those types of issues because different genres of music focus on different problems, different things. And so though a lot of the genres of music aren't going to touch on those topics, but there will still be genres of music that will touch on those topics. So I think that the representation in media in general is going to increase as demand rises, but I don't think it's going to change all existing music because, again, there's still a niche for everything.
Quite. And to build on that, and kind of broaden this a little wider, so we could capture a little bit more of that thinking. Let's look at formerly rock music, and I say it from like 60s and 70s, and not its roots, but sort of when it was machismo and big, bold, and culturally speaking, white. It spoke to a bravado that was very particular. It spoke to you had Leonard Skinner, and you got Led Zeppelin was from overseas, but you have a lot of rock personalities, the personality of a rock star,
it's counterculture,
right?
People,
and set that thinking, not just with the lyrics, not just with their dress and whatnot. Everything altogether became a statement saying, you know, I am man, hear me roar. And that was also mentioned with, like, say, Run DMC's music, and we've got tracks like Rockbox. That same energy as a male archetypal figure commanding a crowd, is, you know, a king with a scepter, and speaking to the crowd directly from their mind, thoughts that reach into other minds. It's very influential. Would have to assert kind of, I don't want to say sexually, but assert that inclination and identity. But I do agree, we have moved generally largely past that point. As it's 2025, it is solidly a new century, and you know, people are starting to look over that wall that was once there between genres. Genres are now blending together. Electronic music, hip hop, and pop, and rock is not what it used to be. Nothing is what it used to be. It's all kind of in the same room now, just to bring more people in that room. There's less version for separation. So one part of me in the past would say, yeah, we're not used to that, and that doesn't seem like the message we were originally started from. To now that I'm like, well, those people exist, and if they're the ones on the microphone using the same type of energy to speak their story in the same way we were young, listening to, for me, an older generation, people who were in the streets coming back inside now, laying their story in. I'm of the age I could say, well, hey, those people exist. I can welcome that. But yeah, for younger minds who, I don't mean to downgrade or degrade anybody, but of a simpler format, need things piecemeal brought to them. That can be very confusing. You're told one thing one way, but when you go out and you realize all the ways are happening at the same time, you don't know which one is right or correct. So you know, your mind's going to sit there and don't know where the boundaries are. We exercise that as we get older and get better at knowing where to draw those lines and can delineate those thoughts. But as a child, I mean, I would say, like, for me, the exposure was early on, that like I only got better because of the calluses, not worse. You know, some people, I pray for them one day, but for me, it made me stronger. You know, it made me totally stronger. So it is something that I want to challenge people more to get better at, as the world becomes bigger than our country, becomes bigger than our religion, becomes bigger than our ideologue, our skin. You know, we start to see people in far off places who've been here the whole time, who've been here since the beginning of time, living their life just as us, never knew us. And I think that would make us more human than we ever thought human was before. So yeah, I did want to just, before I pass it, I just wanted to say I am Black. I'm not gay. But I know that America would defend easily gay before Black. So though I would readily fight for equal rights, I know many would not fight for me, you know, not fight for Black people. So seeing where people would march in the streets for women's rights, for gay rights, Black people would be in their own march, and everybody would be on the sidelines watching. I know that for certain. So like my perspective on it is, they're more than welcome to fight for their rights, have their own platforms, just as much as I would. And then you can go ahead and fill in the gaps there. But I let those people speak for themselves. That's where I was. I don't feel like I could hate them. You know what I'm saying? Like, that's why I said, you know, to your degree, it's like I would allow it, but I have nothing positive or negative to say about it. It's really all to their own. But bridging that off, Hollyweird is a little, you know, term that came up there, and the broader cultural implications of this sexuality into that mainstream. What do you think? What do you think is the consequences of that? Do we have gay rappers, right? Like, does Lil Nas X count? No. I mean, I don't listen to him, but that was a flashpoint. Did that matter? Is that something that people in the LGBTQ community could call that's our little, little spot in the territory that is not seen as wrong or immoral, but we got the mic and could speak it? Or do they align with female rappers? Like, can anybody speak on that? I personally don't know enough to really say anything on it, but what are your thoughts on that?
If you want me to be completely honest here,
yeah, I do.
I
totally do.
I look at the world right now and think that there are principalities that people are not ready to acknowledge. I believe that a lot of us have allowed ourselves to be consumed by the spirits of demonic entities. And in doing so, we have opened up more doorways to perversion. We have opened up more doorways to anarchy, to pain, to suffering, to division.
Chase temptation. We're not even tempted by temptation. We seek it out.
Exactly.
Wow. Yeah. Okay. Wow. And like I just immediately feel like now I'm looking over the precipice at that broader world and feel immediately unqualified, because there's, at least my personal like thing that I had was there's too many special interest groups. I think that is diluting the message we're all individually carrying. I made a friend on Twitch who lives in Argentina, and his, both he's culturally and geographically separated from America, and looking into, why, what's up with civil rights. It should be simpler, because here, I don't care what people, he used to talk to neo-Nazis, and he's like, I don't really care what people believe, as long as we can respect each other. And it doesn't matter if you're white or black, because, so what? I'm black. Who cares? I have a friend who, I went to America, and they didn't, he was saying the N-word and stuff. And he wasn't saying it in a way that was derogatory, but he would say it and say that like Americans seem to be incredibly agitated by this. And the reason I had so much patience for him is because it came from a place that I wish more Americans had, that it was curiosity and not judgment. And I think that is a point of salvation for this chaos you're seeing out there, is if people took it more with curiosity and could entertain the idea without fully taking it on, and just saying, well, that's just part of the world. So it's I would give us individuals here some credit that we don't make it our personalities to at least try and understand these things. People make the judgment first, and then they put their flag in that, and then they're always against it. If we have more curiosity and understanding, I think, I don't want to say it's, would I say it's tolerance? Would that be a fair credit to say, like, could we tolerate that and not embody it?
I mean, you're either tolerating it or you're being forced to tolerate it. It's either or. It's gotten to that point, like you said, one side can be upset and rally and everybody scream to the Raptors for them, and then someone else will do it, and then there'll be a completely different conversation. It's at the point to where you're either going to get condemned for standing up for something that you believe in, or you're just going to have to just shut up completely. I refuse to shut up. So, I mean, I don't judge nobody. This is a personal walk that all of us have to take individually. I'm not the one that's going to have the final say so on how we lived our life. That's not so. As far as I'm concerned, my concern for people when I do things like this has nothing to do with me trying to throw stones at anyone. I really want to understand where you're coming from, why you are where you are, And if there's a way that we can come to some type of conclusion together on this and walk away from it unscathed, you don't get harmed, I don't get harmed, but at least we take information from this discussion, and whether or not you use it or not is up to you, but at least we had the conversation,
Yes.
Planting seeds, that's all I care about, is planting seeds.
Yes, absolutely. No, that's divine. In a time of sin, that's absolutely, again, that salvation. Curiosity being is we create. I used to think of it like the island we're standing on. Otherwise, we're all cast out and lost at sea, swimming, fighting the current individually. Is that understanding is the island we're all standing on, and I'm more concerned with being able to stand on solid ground with you, so I could see you eye to eye, so I could see you face to face. Then there's the the whole other task of, okay, we're on this now barren land, let's try and make it beautiful together. And everybody's got an idea of how they want to move forward, how they want to, what they envision of the future, if they have a vision of the future, because most people are living day by day. The sun goes up, I guess I got another 24. Here we go. And some other people know enough that the sun is going to rise, whether they are alive to see it or not. They plan and organize, and it goes further and further and further, a day, a week, a year, a month. People are on different decades and wake up every day in their own future, building already, with or without permission. Again, it's like we're being forced to tolerate it. I personally think of it like, what do I know how people are really? I haven't met 8 billion people. There's people who are like this. I'm seeing is not an offshoot. We don't see people coming from the sky in spaceships yet, because the day that happens, everything changes. Everything we knew of is immediately the past. Everything after is going to be different. So I'm still dealing with human beings, and human beings like I can change. That's kind of amazing about human beings. And that's not just, year to year, cultures, different countries, but like day to day, people change their minds, hopefully change their minds. They see new information, their brains working. And, like a friend used to tell me, everybody got scientists studying the brain 24/7 and still can't tell men and women apart from it. So it's up to people to use it. So some people don't want to take it out of the package and put a wrinkle in it. So, you gotta be the change and try to use your brain, or someone's going to use it for you. And ever since that conversation, and, just I looked at how my life is growing up being a curious person, I'm not fighting in a sense of fighting my position and it's my team, not your team, but I'm trying to stand my ground in quicksand. I don't see people trying to take the land away from me. I see people also trying to stand on their own. And we're all getting older. We're all hopefully getting wiser. So people are learning how to deal with something that they could never understand. Imagine being a child, unfiltered, and having something that you're still trying to figure, is this normal? Am I like okay? Am I part of this group? And you're still seeing people with different faces, different skin colors, walking differently, talking in different languages, and you're still okay with that. We're still on the human thing. These are not aliens yet, really. It's that's a lot. That is a lot. So I welcome that conversation, and kind of motivated why I'm here. Like I said, I didn't think people were still using their brains. I thought it was, before it was illegal, people using their brains and thinking for themselves. Oh, have you heard? We have a guy that doesn't want people thinking. The Department of Education has been dismantled. Never in my life I thought that would be a good idea. People getting paid hundreds of thousands of dollars a year to think this is a good idea and vote on it. That's abhorrent to me. You really want to dismantle Department of Education? You don't want educated people? Blasphemy.
I wanted to add 2 things. One, I just out of curiosity, I looked up the difference between tolerance and acceptance, and I found it pretty interesting, which is why I wanted to share it. For acceptance or for tolerance, it means that you are toning down your prejudices. So you might still hold those prejudices, but you're not going to show the person that you feel that way. And then acceptance is freeing yourself from those prejudices by making an effort to understand them and their belief systems. So I thought that was pretty interesting because I've heard in the speech about being welcoming, they always use inclusivity and tolerance when it should be acceptance, because acceptance means that you're being inclusive, whereas tolerance only allows you to make the place safe for them, the space safe for them. And then second, I wanted to also mention, I forgot what exactly was said that made me think of this, but I remembered a fact. It was Viktor Frankl. He was in one of the Nazi prison camps, and he found that the difference between people that survived and who didn't survive is the people that survived had a purpose that they were able to hold on to, even when it was the most difficult time period of their entire lives. The people that had something to hold on to and look forward to and felt and a connection and a purpose and a meaning beyond what they were experiencing were the ones that were able to mentally overcome and not fall apart in that situation. So that kind of made me think of what we were talking about in the sense that in this world where people are so hateful and so willing to jump on you and attack you for whatever form of life that you choose to live, I forgot who it was that said this, but our job is to stand in our power. It's to defend our own life as like against everyone who's trying to change you, because your job is to be yourself. And if you're letting other people infiltrate your existence, you're not being yourself, you're being other people. And so it's important to figure out what your root self is and try and protect that. Do what you can to kind of scaffold yourself with the things that are meaningful to you, and avoid sacrificing it for other people. So yeah, hold strong to your views, and that will kind of help you maintain your sense of self.
I just want to be perfectly clear on where I sit.
Mm-hmm.
These are prophetic times. Now, I'm a believer in Christ. I don't push my beliefs on nobody. I don't even go down that rabbit hole a lot up here, but I understand that my purpose and my calling might require me to say things that's not going to be very pleasant to a lot of folks, which is okay. I'm good with that. I've always been that lone wolf anyway. We are lawless. We want to live the way we want to live. We want to achieve our dreams and our goals and our ambitions by all means necessary. Greed, pride, gluttony, you name it, all of it is being utilized and is at the disposal of every single human being who is living in this secular world, relying on the worldly things to provide them that fulfillment that is empty on the inside of them. You will never see me condemn you or anyone for your decisions or your preferences. However, what's going to happen is I will try my best to hold people accountable with love, because the things that I've experienced in life has allowed me to see things from a different set of lenses outside of myself. And when you put yourself in a space to where you don't see things through tunnel vision, and it's just what you know and what you feel, once you are able to do that, you can be humble around anyone and anything. I could never point a finger at someone else and not point a finger back at me, right? Something that Sydney had said about survival. Well, when you don't want to die not knowing what you could have done with your life, I guess you would do everything you could to survive. Who wants to go to their deathbed at 20, 30, 40 years old and you never really figured it out?
Especially in the hands of somebody so cruel and senseless.
It's just amazing to me how much time we waste on things that's frivolous. And one of my biggest pet peeves is people like Rick Ross and them who use their fame and their fortune and their power to distort the way that people look at life. Rick Ross driving around with $1 million cars, and he talks about shooting people and hustling this and this, that, and third. But all that music really does is lead people to jail or in the grave. You're 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 telling people that you love women and this, that, and the third, but you sitting up here with a dude borderline in your lap. Y'all want me to be okay with it. I don't have to be okay with it. I can go on with my life and let you do you in private. I have a problem with it when you take it to the elementary school and you got teachers trying to groom kids to question their sexuality and things like that. Like there's a threshold and a limit to how far these people take things, and that's where the problem comes in. Your Diddy parties, all your little secret society gatherings, all that's you. But when you doing voodoo and you out here practicing sorcery and spilling blood and all that, yeah, I do have an issue with that. So
It's not you. It's not you. It's external. And again, I do side with what Sydney says. Is I'm personally inclined to acceptance rather than just tolerance. Is I can recognize, I can identify my feelings of tolerance, and usually it comes from I don't know enough of it yet to fully accept it, but I have a personal inborn desire to accept things, because I did that with nature. Walk outside and see trees and bugs that were there before me. And unlike my parents and my elders and cousins and stuff who grew in simpler places, who were forced to accept certain things by way of meaning the church. My grandmother was a 7-day Adventist. I was baptized as a Catholic and grew up with Christians and evangelists. And I have 7 Bibles, all supposedly telling me the same thing, but in different ways. A church divided is no church at all. And sitting in churches up until I was 14, my expanding, my thirst for knowledge grew beyond what the church could provide me. So I got to a level of acceptance, not tolerance, with the message that I got from churches, that it just didn't serve for everything for me anymore. Unlike my elders and some of my relatives that was all they needed. That was all the world wasn't MTV and spaceship satellites and cell phones for them. They weren't there yet. So the Bible was all they needed. That what they got out of church was all they needed. I saw it that way. They might have a different way to explain that. And I learned to accept that. I said, that's cool. And I found myself reading other religions, other beliefs that didn't see it as this story. They were seeing it in nature. They were seeing it in their rulers. They were seeing it in courses of time, changes in power. And I was like, this is all the human story. Like, this was a bigger story. And I was like, all of these people are living on the same earth, living in different times, like ancient Egypt, Kemet, right? Ancient Greece, ancient Rome. And they were trying to explain the same thing that people today are looking out of telescopes who have all this knowledge, and they're still going, dude, have you seen this? Have you seen this? Look, that's understanding how light works. And then they're like, yo, that's the light from a thing that's 3 million years ago, but I still don't know what's going on.
They have Neolithic paintings that have accurate maps of the sky, the stars, and even accurate like calendars for registering like comets and other celestial events that come in intervals.
Absolutely. And it's also all in all, I saw it as a consistent pursuit for truth. Like the most influential scientists were devout religious people, like especially Isaac Newton. He was very religious. And for him to accept the things he was observing, he had to pursue knowledge as fervently as people were preaching that they knew the divine. He was like, okay, well, let me find the divine in this phenomenon that's happening, because it was clearly not the hands of other human beings. It was happening without our say-so. So this was definitely some kind of power we are already living with. And we ain't even at the point of questioning. So like, this must be greater than us. That's where my mind went to in church, that people were trying to explain away things that were just, your book doesn't have that in there.
What you just said makes me think of the poet Rumi. He has this one poem line that the more I look into myself, the more I see God. The more I look into God, the more I see myself.
Absolutely. And then I would say I see God in the eyes of everybody I meet. That proves to me the creator, as I refer to it, is much bigger than any word or understanding that somebody's always giving me a piece of it. And I'm always finding pieces. That someone told me, who actually she is a preacher, and she's a theologian. So she took the academia of theology. And she's like, in life, we're walking around with a bunch of keys to doors, some which we never pass. And, we're finding parts to things, and we never know what's the larger construction. So we're always failing at putting something together with pieces we're finding that probably don't even fit together. And some in constructions that are far more complex to things that were long ago destroyed that we're still trying to fit together. So, and I mean, I don't mean to diminish the power of faith. That's very powerful. And like Sydney was saying, could get you through some times that we have no reasons for other people's cruelty. Why is this person trying to destroy us? With the same fervor that we have for curiosity, the same energy we're trying to learn and grow, they're trying to destroy. They're trying to bring it into their realm and trying to crunch it down into something that I saw. And I said, no, that's not my thing. I'm about expansion. So I accepted it. I readily said, this is just a little corner of the world, and it's already existing. So therefore it can be peaceful. That's how I see people in different communities. They were already there. They have no idea how much you hate them. They're sitting there walking across the street, living their life. Who am I to hate that person? And again, as a Black person in America, why am I being hated? It's like, guys, we've always been here. You have always been here. You have lived and died 1,000 times, and you're still learning yourself. Why can't we be friends? Why can't we grow together? But let's just bring that back to the music thing. It is only but one genre. He is only but one artist with his own personality, his own persona. So he's trying to sell that, and you're buying into it, and then it changes on you. So that confusion is kind of like, hey, I didn't pay for this. This is something I didn't ask for. And I can get the aversion. You bought one thing and it's now something else. You're most likely gonna react to that confusion, and confusion leads to anger. Anger leads to hate, and you're gonna have, that's natural. I think that's totally natural. It's just how you decide to deal with that. How you personally want to decide to deal with that. But yeah, we could expound on that all day, and get into like music taste. But yeah, it is initially confusing. There's nothing wrong with that. There's nothing wrong with feeling that.
I want to segue real quick because I know we about to wind down. That is, even though you just made some monumental points, you and Sydney did. I'm glad that's documented for future reference. For anybody who wants to check the replay back. I want to play this last one because Jenny, she sent this to me via email. The first time I watched it, I thought it was real, and then I found out later on that it was just a misunderstanding. But even still, it was
a prank. Somebody did get arrested for this.
Right. So I just wanted to play this clip, get y'all thoughts on it. We'll wrap up from here. And yeah. For anybody who wasn't familiar with this,
bring it on.
Found out who put the teddy bear made out of human skin at the bus stop in California. And trust me, the truth is stranger than the headline. So last week in Vectorville, California, someone spotted this crazy looking teddy bear at a bus stop. Upon a closer look, they saw that the teddy bear looked like it was made out of human skin, something straight out of a horror movie. Cops showed up, shut down the whole area, and they called the coroner.
That's shocking.
Yeah, when they did the investigation, they found out that the guy was actually someone who had sold that particular doll to another person in California. And like Sydney said, it was a prank. But
stranger things.
There was an Etsy artist that made these dolls, and somebody bought one from him, and the person that bought it was the one, like, he thought it would be funny to scare people.
Sixth sense of humor.
Yeah, that's why he got arrested, because it was creating a public disturbance.
I mean,
and that's why I wanted to ask the question. He technically didn't commit a crime, so it's like, should he have been arrested for that?
It's a public disturbance. That is a misdemeanor.
Yeah, it's not like a crime against humanity to try to pull a joke that's not funny. Because if that was the case, a lot of people would be in jail. I can tell you right now, a lot of people will be in jail.
I mean, you look at YouTube, most of them people are pranking people like live.
Oh,
one dude, he walked up to a girl, he was trying to talk to her. It was on camera, he's recording. The brother found out that he was trying to talk to his sister in front of his mother. He didn't like it. He confronted them. They were about to go to blows, and it's like, there's just some things you can't do. Now that right there, I could see that as being like some type of form of disturbance, because you're actually in somebody's personal space. But you set a doll out. I guess.
Oh man. It reminds me of, again, my age is showing. There was a time where we had these prank shows before YouTube on TV, and they were quite formalized. The camera crew, the production value, and then they would field people, but then they would record parts of it to get true reactions, and then in the post editing for us watching at home, not only see the joke, the setup, so that we don't go, oh, yo, they're out here doing that, yeah, they need to be arrested. We can then feel okay to laugh and seeing people, like in compromising situations. I even have a story in a cross culture when I got off the plane in Japan in 2005, by the way. As I got off the plane, first thing someone did when we got at the hotel was turn on the TV. And I'm like, dude, we traveled 13 hours in a plane and 3,000 miles. The first thing you want to do is watch TV? I'm like, come on, dude, we're in Japan, bro. But they cut it on, and the way they have television set up there's like 3 or 4 channels, and they play everything on these 3 or 4 channels. So it's just like public access and variety shows. And one of them was a prank show. And I'll never forget this because it was outrageous. They had this guy, they lured him into a van, and they're like, hey, like, come on, we're gonna go like meet your friends over at the soccer field. And it's at night, and he comes to this big soccer field, and it's a huge soccer field. And out in front, I don't know how you miss it, is a 50-yard wide square tarp. And his friends are on the other side, like waving, like, hey, over here, come over here. And he's running at top speed to come see them. And this guy runs over the tarp, and he falls like 15 feet into this deep hole. Yeah. I'm like, oh my God. You see the guy like head over, like, feet, and lands. He could have broke his neck. And they all reach to the edge, and they just burst out laughing. And I'm like, what was funny about that? The man could have like snapped his neck, and y'all would have been laughing. And then it's like, I don't think he's moving, bro. Like, I don't think he's in on the joke. And we've seen things in America where, you had false toilets, that people sit on the toilet and the walls will drop down, and it's like, haha, we got you. Or, like they tell them they won something, and it's like, you get that shock expression, and the people at home are like, oh my God, they so got this person. But as of maybe 2016, 2015, maybe a little early 2014, there was a transition of that type of energy. I'd say basically that energy we got from television and translated into YouTube, and people started taking those techniques on their own without the major production. And we see pranks like that. I know notably there was one where somebody staged as if it was a bank robbery, and no one was in on the joke, and someone called the police, and they got arrested, they got charged, went to jail. You see, so my inclination is seeing something like that, and you're going to the gas station, you minding your own business. I'm gonna give me some cigarettes, give me some gas. You thinking about the drip, and you see this on the ground, and you looking around, like, nobody seen this thing? What the hell is that? And some people are very superstitious, thinking of ghosts, thinking of cryptids, thinking of all those other things, and they see this artifact on the ground, and it's like their worst fears have come true, have manifested. And now panic mode sets in because that cognitive dissonance again. Someone could get in trouble. That is discourse. As much as this person thinking I could make people think it's a bank robbery. When I grew up watching bank robberies for real on TV, remember Wildest Police Chases 5? It was like a multi-decade series where they would just every year it was like one up crazier chases. I'll never forget this one bank robbery of guys legit in full tactical wear. That was a real thing, like in the movie Heat, really happened. These 2 guys robbed the bank, and they are ex-military, and you're like, that's stuff you see in movies, but happening in real life. I mean, no one's saying safety word, so. When pranks get to that level, yeah, people are going to get the law enforcement because you can't just be walking around unsupervised doing that and giving people heart palpitations. I have a problem with people bringing pets into the supermarket. When was that okay? I was saying that in 2018, 2017. Like, don't people care about other people's allergies? You're bringing a dog around people who were buying fresh food. And when is that okay? Like, where's the public opinion on that? Yeah, it's definitely something that you could, depending on how, people definitely will go very far for a practical joke. It brings traumatic experiences to my mind, but I digress. I can't imagine someone who's left a war zone, okay, with PTSD, and someone's trying to get a rise out of them, and they get triggered. Now you have a whole different situation going on. No one is a licensed expert to handling to try to calm them down. Where's the line drawn, right? Where's the respect for the children who have no filter, who don't know where's the fantasy at? Imagine if a kid picked that up. Imagine a kid picked that up and think it was a teddy bear and not knowing, walking around, and then someone seeing the kid with this and goes, hey, that's not a toy. What are you doing with that? And they're like, oh, I got this little friend. He's a little wet, but he's my friend. Look at the little smile. And then you as an adult going, that's human flesh. And you're thinking Buffalo Bill. You're thinking real scary people that existed out there that were, you know what I mean? History and truth is stranger than fiction type stuff. Yeah, there has to be some sort of like somebody needs to call timeout and show us the camera. Like you got punked. It's reckless. It is reckless. Totally.
And there's like pranking people is nothing new. There's a whole history of it. Like I've heard even in the 1800s, even as far back, there's Roman records of people like the town pranksters going around and making jokes and stuff. That's kind of where jesters come from. But I think the social media atmosphere has kind of supercharged the idea of pranks, because now not only do you get the extra, like it's a type of thrill-seeking behavior to be a prankster, because you're getting a rise out of people, and sometimes you're dealing with, like, especially in the 50s, like kids would throw firecrackers behind somebody, so you get that like excitement of watching people jump around and the sound of the little explosions and stuff. But that was at a time when life was more slow paced. But now with social media, people have access to seeing, oh, well, they did these pranks and they did these pranks. And we're now seeing kind of in the time period that you were saying, I think it started more around like 2012 that really like the viral pranks really started kicking off, where people started doing the video challenges, and there's been so many different pranks, popping a balloon behind somebody, but like throwing water down somebody's leg to make them think that, like, where did this puddle come from all of a sudden between their legs? I see there's the hazing pranks. There's all sorts of different school type pranks. And there's even now we have kids that are really young partaking in these and getting hurt. I just recently saw a case of an 11-year-old girl who called 911 as a prank, and she ended up getting arrested. She got charged with a felony.
Wow.
And she ended up having to go to prison. And again, she was 11. There was another girl that got charged with battery and endangerment or some. She ended up getting like at least a year in prison because she pushed her friend off a bridge to be funny. Like, it was a bridge over a river. And they were saying like, oh, you jump first. And so she pushed the girl in front of her, and the girl ended up breaking her ribs and damaging her lungs and all these other issues as a result. And so that girl got charged. And all of these are just a handful of the many examples of kids playing pranks on adults, playing pranks on other kids, and causing harm and sometimes even death. So I think it's a problem when we frame when we promote the dangerous type pranks. I think it's fine when it's like little harmless fun type pranks, but when we're starting to promote things like playing with dangerous tools or eating Tide Pods or drinking chemicals. There was a bleach challenge where you had to drink a cup of bleach. There was
Wow.
another challenge where you had to set your hair on fire and try and put it out as fast as possible. That was in like 2016, 2017.
Huh. Dang, I
Yeah,
missed
there's
that one.
all sorts of danger, like jump it off the second story roof and like don't hurt yourself type of things.
But you're not Superman. You will
Yeah.
hurt yourself.
And
There's
that's a
no way
huge
of avoiding
problem.
that.
Yeah, and that's why it's such a huge problem with kids, because it's not until about 18, 19, it's between 18 to 25 that the body starts to understand mortality. But
Mhm.
before that, a child doesn't understand permanence, and they don't understand that if they hurt themselves, they could die, they could disappear, like they could not exist. They
Mhm.
don't register that that's a possibility yet.
Mhm.
And so it's especially dangerous when kids see these pranks, because they don't see the consequences at all. Like
Right.
an adult, we can look at these pranks and be like, oh yeah, my body can't take that, I don't know if I want to be doing that. Or we
Mhm.
could look at them eating something and be like, yeah, no, I'm not putting that in my
Right.
mouth. But kids don't have that. They see, ooh, if I put this up, I could get millions of views. My friends will think I'm cool. I'm going to get clout around the school because they're going to see me doing this challenge, and they kill themselves, or they hurt themselves, or they damage themselves permanently. So
Yeah.
it's unsafe for it. Like, it opens up that whole conversation of whether they should even have access to the internet, because of
Wow.
the chances that they'll get exposed to stuff like this.
Yeah, with no filter, with nobody to say, hey, like this is this 1-to-1, right? 1-to-1. Anything else you take out of it, that's on you. And I'm saying this like a voice to my younger self. No one ever told us that. No one was like, this is the 1-to-1. We learned the hard way because there was just nothing to really facilitate that type of conversation. And even with our own bodies, getting back to like, different sexualities, no one was there to lay these 1-to-1s and be honest about it, because everybody has some hang up. And I don't know anyone without any level of trauma. So you're always getting some kind of polluted information. But yeah, growing up, when times were simpler, at least people, you made key points. It didn't cross over into harm. That was something that someone who was orchestrating the prank and the joke knew that line. Like, they knew that line, that the whole artistry of it to make it humorous was kind of flirting with that to get you close to it and make you believe, oh my God, I'm going to get harmed. Not really. And then we at home, or we as the observer, also observed it and could see the humor in it. And it good old fashioned fun, good clean fun, is, I don't know if that exists anymore, because like we popped that balloon, we burst that bubble, we smashed through that. There's no lying about it. Oh, if you just want to stop here arbitrarily, they're gonna look at you and go, "Come on, bro." At
There's
11,
fun, but it costs an arm and a leg.
You remember hanging out at the mall? Now it's like it's a charge. You're loitering, and it's like, I don't even know what that word meant when I was a kid. I'm just hanging out. Now it's loitering. It's like, damn, like it is escalated to a level of seriousness that as a kid I would have been like, that's not necessary. But as an adult, I go, yeah, there are those people that are just too uptight, and they've always been there. And now we all have to tolerate it. We can't, we just, damn. Deep. What do you think?
I think that is a conversation for another day, because we could actually, like, trust me, I already see the potential with this one. But I don't want to hold up anyone, especially, I know we got schedules and routines and things like that. I got something in the oven. I don't want it to burn. I ain't gonna hold you. We definitely need to spin back on that one though.
I concur.
Yeah.
Hit it up in the Discord, y'all. That's why I use Discord.
Yeah. You shout outs. we'll definitely rap about that.
Yeah, end up on a high point, my friend.
I do want to say thank you. I appreciate
Thank you.
y'all.
Seriously, thank you. Again, the man in the desert only needs a drop of water. Okay. And this has been quenching for my soul to be able to have, like, we're finding more content as we keep getting in this. It was like, yeah, I like how this feels, and I would love to do this more often. And I really, really am grateful for the opportunity. Thank you so much for welcoming me, and thank you, Sydney, for the conversation.
Oh, we definitely spinning back. We'll talk afterwards. You know what I'm saying? To the people that's watching, I hope y'all enjoyed the stream. I definitely took a lot out of this one for real.
I mean, I took notes, y'all. I'm a serial note taker. So you at home, go to the store, buy a pack of notes, write every idea down, and remember to index it. It'll help you in the long
run. Hey, not mad at you, bro. But we about to get up out of here, man. Y'all.
The comment.
My dude.
I'm not even about to.
You know what I mean? It's like, can't hate on keeping it real, baby.
This is all love, man. That's family here, man. But y'all take it easy. I'll see y'all guys tomorrow, same time, same place. Oh, do me a solid before y'all go.
What's good?
Appreciate it.
By examining his own attitude towards the possibilities of peace, towards the Soviet Union, towards the course of the Cold War.
Art muscle. It was a way of making me feel that they were a part of me.
You see it on the bridge. Wait, I didn't get it. If the government had to change the screw in the bridge, they have to shut it down. They got state troopers out there. They got lanes closed. They got their strange